recently came across a study done by the University of Scranton that said 92% of people will fail to ever accomplish their goals. Now this got me thinking, what about our audience right here? Does that mean 92% of you will die without ever achieving your dreams? Not our limitless audience, I'm sure. But I imagined if I asked you, who here still has a dream or a goal inside of them that they haven't accomplished, who would raise their hand? Show of hands. Let's take a look around the room for a second. Now I'm sure if you came up to me on the coffee break later or we were at the after party, I'd say, hey, why haven't you done it? And I'm sure you'd have a really good, big reason. You might tell me it was your mother, your father, the bad economy. I'm sure maybe you had limited resources, poor work ethic, somebody screwed you over. But what if it wasn't one big thing that kept us from achieving the goals? What is it that makes the 8% successful in the group that does it? And that's what I want to talk to you about today. It's a conversation I want to have with you. I call this conversation the silent yeses. And what if it's small micro compromises that we make each and every day in our daily lives that when compounded are actually the source of why we don't get to our limitless future? Now think about this like a leaky bucket or a leaky faucet. You turn on the water and slowly it drips, it drips, it drips. Now if you're like me in the mountains in Colorado, as that faucet leaks, if you come back after a couple days, the wells run dry. If you're also like me in Colorado, you gotta pay the guy $300 every time that well runs dry. But these micro compromises are these things we do in society to fit in, to follow the routine, business as usual, be in the autopilot of things. And we do them every single day without realizing it. They come in the form of a silent nod or a head shake. Maybe some of you did it this morning when you came and said hi to each other. Or when someone asks you how you're doing. You might be having a bad day and you say, well, I'm fine. Or maybe it's when your boss asks you to stay late and work some overtime for the 10th time that month, and you feel like you should, to be likable or agreeable, but really you don't want to, and that means you miss date night or your kid's sporting practice. And without realizing it, we surrender our power to these automatic, responsive yeses. And before long, we look at our life as they compound over time, and are we surprised that we don't have what we want? Are we surprised that our life looks the way that it does? Now I know many of you have big dreams inside of you. True story? Come on, let's give it up for those dreams. Big dreams inside of you. And sometimes they live like a silent voice, this internal knowing. Maybe you think about it on the way to work. Maybe you think about it in the shower. Maybe you think about it on vacation in the form of a daydream. Yet you look around you and your external reality doesn't match it yet. Now, things might seem really good on paper. I've seen some of your Teslas. I've seen some of your BMWs. I imagine if I looked at some of your business cards, we would find some pretty impressive titles, yeah? And there's nothing wrong with that at all. But that feeling, that emptiness, that little slow simmer, that slow faucet, that slow leak, what if that was actually the key to having the life that you really wanted? Now, in this talk today, I want to explore with you how to turn these automatic, silent affirmations into purposeful declarations, how to plug that leak, how to take your power back, and how to activate your voice so you really can go out there having that future. Does that sound interesting to you all today? So as I was on the plane here, I was doing a little bit of math about small changes. Now, who in the audience would like to save some money? If you could save a little bit extra money, you would be inspired by that. Did you know that if you save $8 a day, I'm talking about the Starbucks, the lattes, that extra glass of wine, or maybe the beer at the pub, over the course of a year, you would have saved $3,000? How about those in this room who feel like if I only had the time to read more books, I could be more educated? Who would love to learn a little bit more in this room? Did you know that if you read 20 pages, you would have read 30 books over the course of a year? And what about for my people who have been saying New Year's resolution after New Year's resolution? If only I had the time to work out, I could get in better shape, it would be amazing. If you walk 10,000 steps a day, couple blocks, in the morning or the night, you would have run 70 marathons in 1 year. Now those micro compromises really do get to be this key, and it takes being able to pause the noise of the outside world to tune into the inside world. And I imagine that's why you're tuning into talks like this, because you want to do that. And sometimes I think the scariest part about realizing our dreams is that so much life happens that we abandon that they're even possible. We say to ourselves, well, I'm too old. I've run out of time. It can happen for her, but it can't happen for me. She's the one who got on a TEDx stage. It's not in my future. Maybe my next lifetime. Who in this room, if you really tell the truth to yourself, does that resonate with right now? You might have abandoned a dream. And it's okay. I almost did too. I grew up as the oldest of 5 girls to a Puerto Rican immigrant. My grandmother was from Puerto Rico. My dad was the son of a Puerto Rican immigrant. And as the oldest of 5 girls, my dad used to have the saying, there is no freedom without economic freedom. So as a young girl, I said to myself, I am going to get so good at making money, I am going to buy my dreams, and I'm going to win the formula called successful future. Who else followed in that way? I'm going to learn how to make money. I'm going to figure out how to do this so I can be successful. So at the age of 15, I was out at the grocery store one day when my parents were shopping. I went up to the grocery store manager and I said, hey, can you give me a job? And he's like, in the US, he's like, well, you're not 16. You can't start working. And so on Saturdays, he said, come in. And I started bagging groceries. And every time I got my paycheck, I took that paycheck and I put it in the bank, which was the top drawer of my closet near my socks. Now, one day, my mom was cleaning my room, which she never does. And she said, Jules, you have all your paychecks in your closet. What are you doing? You got to take them to the bank. And I soon learned that you had to actually cash the checks to get the money. But I was driven. I was committed. And that carried on. I got 2 jobs by the time I was done with high school. And by the time I turned 18, my dad asked me a question I imagine many of us have been asked. Well, what do you want to do with your life? Who here's been asked that question or asked someone that question before? Now, at the age of 18, I had just done American Idol. I had got down to 200 people. I was in high school. I had my 15 seconds of fame. I was going to be a rock star. And I'm like, Dad, this is what I want to do. And he looked at me in the eye and he said, did you know that only the top 1% of people make it? Are you sure you're willing to bet on something so risky? Are you sure you're willing to gamble your entire future to be a rock star? Now, I didn't have the confidence that I do now. And I was like, that's a good point. Anyone ever said a version of that to somebody else? Even though you probably had the best intentions, like my dad did. He worked hard to give me a future. His oldest daughter of 5 wants to be a rock star. What has he been busting his butt for his whole life? So I got really good, and I was able to make my first 6-figure company at 18, 7-figure company at 22, until the age of 24, when I had a business partner embezzle a bunch of money. And overnight, I watched everything I had done from all the previous years collapse in front of me. The identity of who I was, driving these awesome cars, running a team of 24, I thought I was the coolest kid around. But beyond all of that, it was the first moment that I actually started to reflect, why am I doing what I'm doing? And I'll ask you, why are you doing what you're doing? I was on a formula that I thought was going to give me my success. But in that moment of the embezzlement, I couldn't have been any further away from where I wanted to go. Every day of my life in that moment, it wasn't just the embezzlement. I was so connected to what was happening in my future. Moving from one goal to the next goal to the next goal, I could never receive my success. Imagine some of you in this room cannot receive fully your success. And then if I also told the truth, I was not really happy. I was in Amazon book publishing. I wanted to be a rock star. I didn't want to be behind the desk doing books. I was on conference calls skiing in the backcountry pretending to be corporate when I was this creative, express person. And it took me a couple months later having a near-death experience where I almost died in a wakeboarding accident to realize that you don't have to die to start living. This is me in that moment in 2015. And I felt like it really had all come down. And more than anything, it was the first time I started saying Einstein's definition of insanity, expecting a different result by doing the same things. I had to change my tune. And I discovered 3 very key things that I want to share with you on how from that moment I was able to take my power back, plug that leaky faucet, and really start creating the life that I wanted. The very first thing I did is I embraced the power of no. When I looked at the collection of my life and all the things that I did, if I was to give my life a headline on a 1 to 10 scale, my headline would be a 4 out of 10. Looked real good from the outside, but on the inside? So I ranked all the things I was doing with my life, the emails, the phone calls, on a 1 to 10. And when I looked at the 2 things that I did the least amount of time, which was my music, it only encompassed 5% of my time. So could I really be surprised? And so I played this game with myself that I ask you to play with yourself over this next week, is start noticing where you say yes to things. Most of the invitations I had, like staying late from work, or the invitations of, hey, want to come have that extra drink when you said you were going to get up and go to the gym the next day, are usually 3 out of 10, 5 out of 10, sometimes 8 out of 10. And the more I said no, the more I held out for a bigger yes. And an interesting thing started to happen. That instead of being delivered opportunities that were maybe a 3 out of 10, they started to be a 5 out of 10, a 7 out of 10, and a 10 out of 10, and my life began to transform. The second thing is I started unsubscribing from conversations that were no longer serving me. How many of us have conversations in our life when we're out with our friends, and whether you want to call love in your life, there's no good love left in the air? Put it up. All men are cheats. The dating market sucks. The economy is horrible. Start a business next year. And we're in the perpetual later conversation. And once you come into limitless possibility, you have to unsubscribe from all the muck. Because if you don't hit the unsubscribe like you do in your inbox, and like you do when people randomly start texting you promotions all the time and you hit stop, how are you really going to have a conversation that sets up your life? And this brings me to the last thing that I learned in that moment, which was to follow the momentum. See, momentum compounds on both the positive and negative scale. And I imagine a lot of you are compounding negative momentum. And if not you, at least the other 92% are, because why don't we have what we want? So instead of focusing on what's not here yet, or when you finally get to the moment of having your dreams, don't block yourself from receiving it. Stay present to what is. Allow yourself to feel the enjoyment and follow what's in front of you and double down. And that's what I did. And after so many years, I finally was able to put out my first music album. I now am singing in Nashville with some Grammy award-winning songwriters and some other extraordinary people. I'm going to play a song for you here in just a moment. And my dad is now my biggest fan, coming out as Jules King using my mom's maiden name. And it's all because I followed these steps. So I leave you with that today. Choose where you say yes, use your no. Unsubscribe from what doesn't serve you, and put into motion that where you feel your momentum. My body fails me, my mind is cloudy. I can't remember how it feels just to be me. I am a vessel filled with your spirit. Right now I feel like I'm too broken up to hold it. But there's a place where I can go when I am hopeless. Right here in your presence, here at your feet. Right here in the middle when I'm down on my knees. No matter how I show up, I'm gonna show up. You're drawing me near. Oh, you'll meet me right here. My heart is open, my soul is steady. Oh, when hope runs dry, your breath of life sustains me. Oh God, there's nowhere I can go where you're not with me. Right here in your presence, here at your feet. Right here in the middle when I'm down on my knees. No matter how I show up, you're gonna show up. Oh, you're drawing me near. Oh, you'll meet me right here. You're gentle, you're lonely. You only wanna know me. You're with me, you're for me. You only wanna show me that you're gentle, you're lonely. You only wanna know me. You're with me, you're for me. You only wanna hold me right here in your presence, here at your feet. Right here in the middle when I'm down on my knees. No matter how I show up, you're gonna show up. Oh, you're drawing me near. Oh, you'll meet me right here. Oh, you'll meet me right here. Right here. Thank you, everybody.